Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into the world of AI-assisted development. Specifically, we're comparing three interesting platforms: Google Firebase Studio, Replit, and Bolt.new.
Right. All promising to, speed up how we build apps and prototypes using AI.
Exactly. So our mission today is to sort of unpack these tools. We want to figure out the key differences, what they're good at, maybe where they fall short.
Yeah, the goal is to help listeners get a feel for which one might actually, fit their needs best. Are they just trying to prototype fast or maybe collaborate on Python stuff?
Or even build out a full AI-powered application. So let's start with the core, the AI capabilities, Firebase Studio. What's the story there?
Okay, so Firebase Studio is pretty interesting because it uses Gemini 2.5 Pro. That's Google's big AI model.
Right.
And the idea is you can give it prompts like just natural language descriptions, maybe even sketches or images, and it starts generating a full stack at...
Full stack, so front end and back end.
Exactly. Both what the user sees and the logic behind it. It seems particularly strong if you're already, bought into the Firebase ecosystem and want to build AI features right in.
Okay, makes sense. But any caveats?
Well, yeah, it's still pretty new, kind of in preview, so reliability might be a bit variable. You know how these early stage tools can be?
Sure, always a heads up needed there.
And the language support currently focuses mainly on React, Flutter, and Python.
Got it. So strong for Google Cloud users wanting AI prototyping, but maybe watch for stability. How does Replit compare on the AI front?
Replit's angle is a bit different. They have this thing called the Replit agent. It's more about automating the development process.
Automating how?
Things like setting up your environment, running tests, handling deployment. It seems especially good for Python projects. Makes that iterative cycle, coding, testing, debugging, much smoother.
Okay, so less about generating the whole app from scratch, more about assisting the developer workflow, especially for Python.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. But some users report it might struggle a bit with really complex apps and maybe throw more errors when you're doing full stack development compared to, say, just Python.
Right. Good for Python iteration, maybe less so for complex multi-language stacks.
Yeah.
Okay, Bolt.new. What's their AI specialty?
Speed. Bolt.new is really all about autonomous code generation for basic web stacks. Think JavaScript, TypeScript.
Basic web stacks.
Yeah, and it gives you live previews almost instantly. The main target seems to be super fast MVP creation, getting that first bare bones version of an idea up and running like immediately.
That initial spark. Very quick.
Yeah.
But you emphasized basic. What's the downside?
Well, the speed seems to come with trade-offs. Users report issues with error handling. It doesn't always tell you clearly what went wrong.
That can be frustrating.
Definitely. And stability, especially around things like authentication user logins, seems to be a weak point right now. There are also concerns about its pricing model.
Oh, how does that work?
It uses a token system. You basically pay for the AI's computation. But if the AI is error-prone and generates bad code, you could end up, wasting tokens and money pretty quickly.
Oof, yeah. So Bolt.new, maybe good for a quick throwaway experiment, but not something you'd build a real product on.
That seems to be the consensus, yeah. Not really production ready due to those stability and error issues.
Okay, let's shift gears to the overall development workflow. How does building and deploying actually feel on these platforms? Firebase Studio.
Firebase Studio tries to offer that end-to-end experience. You start with the AI generation, but then you can visually edit the code, roll back changes if needed, and deploy straight to Firebase hosting. One click.
Very integrated if you're in that ecosystem.
Exactly. Keeps everything nice and tidy within Firebase and Google Cloud.
And Replit's workflow.
Replit's big advantage is its browser-based IDE. Makes it super easy to just open a browser and start coding, especially collaboratively. For Python, as we said, deployment is really streamlined with built-in hosting and even database options.
So very low friction, especially for Python and teams. Bolt.new, beyond that initial code burst.
That's kind of where it stops being as compelling. The initial generation happens in a web IDE, which is nice for zero setup, but it doesn't really have the robust tools or infrastructure you'd need for ongoing development or scaling an application.
Right. It's mainly about that first step. What about collaboration, teamwork features?
Firebase Studio allows real-time collaboration, currently limited to about 30 users, they say, and they have a neat mobile preview feature using a QR code.
Handy for quick checks on a phone.
What?
Replit, you mentioned collaboration.
Yeah, Replit really shines here. It's arguably a leader in multiplayer, real-time coding, fantastic for teams working together, or even for educational settings. Shared workspaces, live editing, it's very smooth.
Sounds great for pair programming or group projects.
Yeah.
Bolt.new on the team front.
Pretty minimal, really. It seems much more focused on the individual developer getting a quick prototype out. Collaboration isn't its main selling point.
Okay, individual focus for Bolt.new.
Mhm.
Let's quickly touch on languages and stacks again, just to summarize.
Sure. Firebase Studio, React, Next.js, Angular, Flutter, Python, leaning heavily towards Firebase and Google Cloud integration.
Got it. Replit.
Strongest in Python, but does support JavaScript, C++, others. Maybe less flexible if you stray too far from Python, though.
And Bolt.new.
Basic web stacks, JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js on the back end, but seems to struggle with complex back-end logic or scaling.
Right. Finally, let's talk cost, accessibility, and pricing.
Firebase Studio is in preview, so it currently has a free tier, looks like 3 workspaces. Paid plans are expected later.
Okay, free for now. Replit.
Replit has a solid free tier, and then a pro plan around $25 a month. Pretty cost-effective, especially if you need the hosting features for your Python projects.
Reasonable. And Bolt.new's tokens.
Yeah, there's a free trial to start, but then it's pay-per-use based on those tokens. As we mentioned, that could get expensive if the workflow involves a lot of trial and error due to the AI's instability.
Okay, definitely something to watch. So let's try to wrap this up with some recommendations. Based on all this, who should choose which tool?
All right. I'd say choose Firebase Studio if you're already invested in Firebase Google Cloud. You want AI to drive the initial app structure, and you value visual prototyping and mobile previews.
Okay.
Replit. Replit seems ideal for Python-focused projects, especially if collaboration is key. Great for teams, education, and developers who want easy, integrated deployment for their Python apps.
Makes sense. And Bolt.new.
Bolt.new honestly seems best suited only for really quick, disposable MVPs or experiments, where speed is absolutely paramount for that first version, but you don't intend to build seriously upon it due to the current limitations. Definitely not for production apps right now.
Great summary. Each tool seems to have carved out a specific niche then.
Pretty much, yeah. Different tools for different jobs.
This has been really insightful. And maybe a final thought for our listeners. With these AI-powered tools evolving so rapidly, how do you think this changes things for software developers, like how they learn, what they specialize in the near future?
That's the big question, isn't it? Definitely something worth pondering.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning into this deep dive. We'll